Hi guys, I had a day off from work, so thought it'd be a great day to do another live stream. It's a little loud in here right now. The AC's going about 82 degrees. Probably going to have to do some radiant barrier, and so I figured I'd do a live stream today and go ahead and get the second rig running. I'm short a couple power cables, so I'm probably only going to be able to do 6, maybe 7 cards. I've got the power cables on order, so it's going to take a little, couple days to come in. But when I do, I'll get the rest going, and then I'll build the third rig. But enjoy, guys. It is nice out today, so I'm going to go ahead and open the door and turn the fan on. May actually be a little quieter than the AC going. Not going to do a whole lot of talking. Probably just working. So if you feel like watching, you're bored on a Friday afternoon at work, just watch along. Thanks. Just a little bit about what I'm putting together today. Then I'll leave you alone and let you watch. This is a B250 Mining Expert. It's going to have 8 cards on it. I know, guys, overkill, but it has a couple features I like on it, especially the riser detection, which has helped out in one situation already, where I was using a regular Asus Z270 board. I spent hours trying to diagnose the problem, ended up being a riser, but this helped me one time detect a bad riser. So I was able to change the riser out and get the rig going. I know they've got some issues. There's a lot of issues that people have posted online, but the only issues I've had so far just refer or deal with the networking card. And it may just be a driver issue. Hopefully they'll get it figured out. But for this card, I've got Crucial, 4 gigabyte, DDR4, and I've got a cheap Celeron or Pentium processor. I think it's a G3900. This definitely doesn't require any powerful CPU. There is going to be no CPU mining. It's going to have a SSD. Reused from one of my old mining rigs. So it's already got Windows loaded on it. Obviously, I'm going to have to redo the drivers and stuff like that. So hopefully that'll cut down a little bit on some of the stuff I need to do. You can probably see that I've got 8 of the cards running. Probably see them lit up starting about right here in this area. And then the rest of the cards are dark. That's going to be the second rig. This entire rack, this entire assembly will hold 24 cards. The spacing in between cards is 2 1/4 inch. And that gives me just enough space to put 24 cards in. I could squeeze them together a little bit and fit more cards in. I figured being in a shed, being outside, I want as much airflow around the card as possible. So the ones that we're going to be setting up today are all Vega 56s. I'm not going to do a screen share and show you the screen or anything like that. I do have other videos that I made if you're interested in mining XMR or Litecoin or Electronium. Um, I have a complete tutorial online for XMR stack and cast XMR. And today I'm going to be doing cast XMR, but I'm going to be doing a little twist from my video. Instead of using the Wattman settings, which if you guys have ever messed with Wattman before, you realize it's a pain in the butt. I'm going to use MSI Afterburner, which I currently have going on this rig that's running now, and it works beautifully. It starts up with Windows. I don't have to go in and reapply the settings every single time I have an issue and it needs to reboot, like I do with Wattman. So we're going to do the MSI. We'll do Cast Miner, XMR, and I believe he's got version 1.0.0.0 out now. We're going to use that with the AMD Radeon 18.4.3 current drivers. So far, everything works great on this rig with that same exact setup. So we're going to go and duplicate that with the second rig, and then the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. As long as it runs good, we're going to, keep using what works. All right, guys. Hope you enjoy. While I'm thinking about it, I wanted to talk about the usage on the PDU. Okay, so currently I'm showing 248 volts. I'm pulling 5.2 amps at 1,230 watts. That's an 8-card rig. That's phenomenal. When I had it set up on 120, it was approximately 11-ish amps, almost 12. I know it's just simple math, but it seems to be a lot more efficient. The power supplies we're using, if I can do it the right way. It's going to be backwards in the camera, but this is a 1,000-watt P2. Just take my word for it or read it backwards. But EVGA Supernova P2 1,000 watt, and I've also got an 850 watt. Overkill for this rig, yes, but it gives me the amount of VGA cords that I need. This particular one has 6. I generally run off a 1,000-watt power supply. I run 5 cards, and then on the 850, I run 3 cards. And power cords for the PDU. The PDU is C16, C19 connectors. So although this end that fits into the power supply, this is obviously different from your standard US wall outlet. But again, these are rated for, I believe, 13 amps is what the package said. But obviously, as you can see, I have about 5 amps on the entire rig, spread across 2 power supplies. Joseph. Yeah, I appreciate that, Joseph. Yeah, that's something I'll probably do with the next builds. I didn't want to pull the current rig down to clone it. And I've had some issues in the past with cloning drives. May have just been the process, or may have been the individual cloner that I was using. But I just chose not to this time. But that is a good idea, and that's probably something that I'll do in the future. So thank you. Yeah, so for the person that asked, where did I get my hands on so many? eBay, exactly. I bought lots of them, 4 and 5 at a time. Everything here you see is secondhand, other than like the power cables. Everything is off of eBay. The PDUs, the risers I've got off of Amazon. But all of the GPUs, they're all off of eBay. I'll try to keep up with the chat as much as I can, but I am gonna, the point is to work. So I'll come back periodically and see if there's anything else. But thanks for watching, guys. Currently, this PDU is off, so I'm going to go ahead and plug the cables in, and when I'm ready to rig, I'll go ahead and turn the circuit breaker on and turn the PDU on. The B250 mining experts do not have a standard power switch like most of your other motherboards on board. So I bought these. Everything's backwards, sorry guys. But Chinese, I think I got them off of either eBay or Amazon. But they do the job, just a power button. Not familiar with this motherboard. They actually have 3 motherboard connections. I only have to use 2, but I populate A as my main power supply and B is my secondary. If you look on the board, they're actually marked A slots, B slots, and then C slots. So anything that I have plugged in to the A power supply is going to get the risers, everything, the GPUs are going to receive power from that power supply. So I'll put 5 eventually on this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that will be power supply A, which is 1,000 watt. And then I'll have 6, 7, and 8 here in the B side for this power supply, risers, GPU power connections, everything on that leg of the motherboard. These SATA connections are not necessary, contrary to whatever the internet tells you. I've never had any issue not running them because we have powered risers. This is obviously to help for people that the old school stuff before they were powered. Most of the new stuff that you buy now does not require this. All right, let's put it together. All right, so like I said, I'm short some power cables, so I'm going to need to get those before I proceed with at least the last two cards. So I'm going to go ahead and plug these in the order that I want to load the drivers in. Time being, I'm going to go ahead and pull the risers off these last two cards. I'll have to pull the rig down, turn it off, all that stuff anyway. So put the new power cables in. The SATA cables, sorry. If you watch my last video, you already know what these are, but these are the version 9. They've got multiple and red LED. Never had an issue with one of these, not one of these I could find. Amazon's currently out of stock, or was out of stock at least a week ago on these. Don't remember the brand name. If I can find it, I'll put it in the description of the video. plugging the SSD. I'll deal with cable management later. Got these tucked away. After I get the new SATA cables, I'll go ahead and fix the power cables up and SATA and riser cables and all that stuff, make it look nice and neat. Missing a CPU cable, so I will be back in just a minute. You'll get one. Remember, guys, always use the proper power cables, SATA cables for the intended power supply. If you're new to rig building, make sure you're actually using a CPU cable instead of a regular SATA cable. On some power supplies, they will be interchangeable. Some power supplies, it may not fit, but you can actually force it to go in, and you can have some issues. You can ask me in the comments how I know that. Power cable, I'm going to hook up the keyboard and mouse, Ethernet connection, it's about ready to go. Like I said, I'll clean all the cables up and make sure everything's good to go and squared away when the rig's running and I know everything's okay with it and I don't have to mess with it anymore. Ethernet cable. This one's a little long. I'll make it look good after I'm done. All right, let's flip the breaker. Troubleshooting 101. Get power on that leg. All right, let's try it again. All right, do 6 cards. Reset. The cable may have not been in good enough. There it goes. I'm going to have to adjust some of the settings on the motherboard. See if I can give you guys at least a little bit of an angle. You still won't be able to see it real good, but so although this is a used SSD that already has Windows on it, this is a brand new motherboard. All the drivers will have to be reloaded. I'm going to have to set up some stuff in the BIOS. Again, I can do another video on BIOS stuff later, but there's already plenty of guys that have that stuff, that kind of content on YouTube. So I'm not going to bore you with it. You can just watch me go through it. Again, I know it's backwards, guys. Sorry. So it looks like an idle. It's pulling 2.1 amps, about 480 watts. The drivers aren't loaded. The fans aren't running at the correct speed, idle speed. So for just a few minutes, it's going to have to load all that stuff up before I can start to make the changes. Engine XED1, sorry. I mispronounced that, but thank you very much. Appreciate that. While it's doing that, there's obviously a few different ways that you can put a new motherboard in, especially if you're loading a new OS. It's almost ready, but sometimes it's easier to leave. So sometimes it's easier to leave the cards unplugged when you're doing the initial setup. Since this already had an SSD, OS loaded on the SSD, went ahead and put them in. I'm going to have to fix all the drivers now, but you get to watch. That's the best angle I can. That's just a little bitty dot on your screen. Some of that glare off. All right, so I went through and checked most of the initial settings on the motherboard. Um, Everything looked okay. It's got an active mining mode, which forces all the speeds to Gen 1 or Gen 2. Gen 1 is fine. Even with AMD cards, you hear some people say NVIDIA need Gen 1, AMD need Gen 2 or Gen 1. As long as Gen 2, generally, you don't have any issues. When I got into Device Manager, all the cards showed up, but Windows went ahead and loaded the drivers for the 6 new cards, even though they're reused. Some of them reused on Registry of cards that it had a registry for. So I wanted to go ahead and use DDU on installer and wipe out all of the drivers, and we'll just start over from scratch. I've already got the miner loaded, so it won't be too big of a deal to get it going, but I definitely want fresh drivers, fresh power play tables, and all that other stuff, because later on down the road, I don't want any issues and have to guess which registry section that I'm dealing with, whether it's an old registry section or one for an active new card. Need a desk in here. It's a little hard to see the screen from 5-6 feet away. But these are the Radeon 18.3.4, which is the latest and greatest as of today. As far as I know, I checked last night and they don't have any new updates. So Cast Miner XMR works perfectly with it. I've been told that the newest version of XMR Stack works with it. If you're interested in the kryptonite algo, but I'm currently mining Monero. I'm an Electronium miner also, so that's the reason why I got these Vega 56s and 64s, is because they tend to do it better than everybody else so far. So hopefully with the new GPU architecture coming, there's going to be some good advancements and maybe some good hash rate increases, but that remains to be seen. Now, when you load these drivers, you want to do a custom install. You don't want to load the HDMI, the high definition audio drivers, or it's basically a problem report. You uncheck those two and load the other two, which are the settings and the AMD drivers. All right, this is going to take a few minutes. It's only 6 cards, so it won't take that long. But when you have an 8-card rig, you better set aside at least 15 minutes for it to load the drivers. And if you're inside, I know it's very loud in here, but when you're inside, the fan speed will change. Again, this is if you've never set them up before. The fan speed will change, the LED, the tack will move around while it's loading the drivers. It's all normal. I expect that to happen. So out of the 6 cards that we're going to get going now, the first 5 are flat out regular BIOS Vega 56. And then the 6th card is 64 flashed BIOS onto the 56. It makes very little to no difference. I mean, if it picked up 20 hash, I'd be surprised. The only difference is the clock rate that you have to run the card at. You can adjust the other settings as well, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still a Vega 56. There's a reason the hardware is different between the 56 and 64, regardless of what people say online. Got nearly 20 of these cards. Got a lot of experience with them. If you found out contrary, please let me know in the comments. But as far as I know, 56 is a 56 and a 64 is a 64. Because the driver is either not loaded yet or it's in the process. Generally, in my rig builds, that's not an issue. And there's plenty of airflow through here right now. I've got the door open and the 1600 CFM fan in the back. So there's a lot of airflow through here. There's no heat buildup at all. It's 78 degrees in here, and I think it's like 76 or 77 outside. They are going to get a little warm. Don't worry about it. Again, if they get a little warm, it's not that big of a deal. They run a lot hotter when they're mining. People tend to freak out when they feel the card and it's really hot. But the reality is it's aluminum and it's going to dissipate heat. So don't get too caught up in if it gets a little warm. Now, obviously, if you can boil an egg on top of it, that's different. But generally, I haven't seen that issue. After it gets done loading the AMD drivers, we'll go ahead and change the registry edit settings. There's 2 settings that we need to change in there. Again, that's in my videos that I put online. If you'd like to go and look at a detailed screen capture of me walking through a setup, you can do so. I'm not going to go through that on this video, but I have to make the 2 registry edit changes. And then I'm going to apply a soft power plate table, which really drops the power consumption of the card. Currently, my 8-card rig, if you're just joining the video or you're watching in the middle, it's pulling 5.1 amps at 1,220 watts. That's 8 cards at 15,500 hash. Almost done. After the power plate table's in the registry edit, then I'm going to go into MSI Afterburner and adjust the cards. You can do it in Wattman, as I said at the beginning of this video, but it's extremely time intensive. It takes a while for it to change from card to card. It's kind of a pain in the butt. It freezes up, says it's not responding, and all that garbage. So what I found with this first rig is that it's a lot easier. It loads with Windows. You can do it on startup, make it run with startup. I'll do a separate video on that. There it goes, it's ready. right, so one thing that I need to do, I don't want to forget, is this particular mining unit does not have an internet connection, so I've got to give it a static IP address. Drivers are loaded. Do not save yourself some trouble, and do not reboot the computer until you make the registry edit changes. And I like to go ahead and apply the power play tables as well, and then give it a fresh reboot. And then you can go in and start doing the overclock and all that other stuff, the undervolt, all that other stuff that you want to do. One thing that I'm going to do really quick is download the latest version of CastXMR Miner. If you go to, I think it's Gandalf3000.com, he's got the latest version, which is 1.0.0.0. The version I have on this is only a few days old, but he's made a bunch of revisions, I guess. It's 0.9.2. This is actually the rig that I did the YouTube video on when I set up CastMiner. I think it's No More Blockchain Drivers is the beginning of the video title. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll get to the registry edit and the power play tables. All right, so something to watch out for, especially if you've reused a hard drive or SSD or something like that. Um, there is a possibility that you may see additional spaces in the registry for old cards or cards that you may have put on at one time and not cleaned all the drivers. So I'm seeing multiple instances. I've got 6 cards, but I've got 8 registry settings or 8 registry spots. So if you see that, sometimes you can go into Device Manager. You can go up to the top and do, I believe it's View, and then click View, and then click Hidden Devices, and see if you've got any ghost drivers, kind of like a ghost gun, set up in your registry. If so, you can go ahead and delete those drivers, and then when you reboot, those will actually disappear generally from the registry. Your numbers will be out of order, but you will see that they've been erased or removed, so they're not as confusing when you're actually trying to set up the cards. All right, so it's actually a latent, I don't know what the term is, but an old driver for the same CPU, onboard graphics. I'm going to go ahead and leave it alone. It's really odd how it put it in the registry. It shows up as 0, which is the good one, and 7, which is the one that I just found. And that's because I reused the CPU, reused the hard drive on a new motherboard. But it's not going to hurt anything. I know what it is now, so I'm just going to leave it alone, write the registry settings to the card, the spots that I want, and then apply the power play tables to the registry spots that I want to. go ahead and load MSI Afterburner. Then I'll give it a reboot. Let's give it a quick reboot to go ahead and finalize the changes in the registry and finalize any other driver installs. Runs about an hour and 16 minutes. Hopefully it won't take another 15 or 20 to get it going. Everything's pretty much done other than the overclock and undervolt from the MSI Afterburner. And then after that, we can hit go on the miner, and it should be good to go. know I said a few minutes ago that I was going to do MSI Afterburner, but for whatever reason, it doesn't look like it's picking up the settings. So I'm going to go ahead and do Wattman just for the sake of being on camera, and we're already 80 minutes into the video. So I'm going to go ahead and set it up in Wattman. Again, I've got a link, or check my channel, and I've got a full description of how to set this up with Castix MR with the AMD Wattman. Just look for no more blockchain drivers. Adrenaline 18.3.4, I believe, or 4.3 with Castix MR. That's a full description of how to figure that out, or how to go through the setup process. So the AMD Wattman doesn't always line up with your card order on the rig. So it's really important when you change the settings, especially if you increase the fan speed, which I do as a matter of habit on every build. You can see instantly which card in order it is as the fan speed spools up. So although that's number 1 in Wattman, it's number 3 in the actual order of cards that I set up: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 2 is number 2. I've already got pre-saved configuration settings. Save yourself some time. If you're going to use Wattman, go ahead and save those. Save them as a file name that you can easily remember. So number 3 is number 4 on the rig. Number 4 is number 1. Number 5. Yep. So number 6 is going to be number 6 in the settings and in the numerical order that I've set up. So it is a Vega 56, but with a 64 BIOS in it. So when you're in Wattman, you will have to use a different saved file that's specific for the Vega 56 versus the Vega 64. All right, all the settings are applied, so let's go ahead and try to start the miner. Looks like we're good. Let's see what it does. Guys, let's take a little trip. I forgot it's going to be backwards for you anyway, guys, but it's like they're getting, I need to do some more optimization, but it looks like they're getting in between 1900, 1826 is the lowest card. 1826, currently lowest card, and the highest card is 1957, 58. So obviously I can optimize these a little bit more. So rig number 1. All right, guys, so that was basically it. I'm going to, sorry about all the camera movement. See if it'll stay this time. All right, so that was basically it. I wanted to show you just the second rig install. I'm going to go ahead and work on getting the power cables. As you can see, one sticking out right here. SATA cables tucked away, riser cables tucked away, make it look nice and neat. And I'll need to optimize this miner a little bit more. I think we can get a little bit better hash power out of it, even on 6 cards, but I still have 2 more to add to this rig once the SATA cables come in. But that's basically it, guys. I appreciate you joining. I appreciate you watching, spending your time with me. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, share the channel for me, and click the notification bell. If you want to see me make more videos of building out the farm, of tutorials, 3 fat white guys, whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments. Show me your support by subscribing. Let me know that you want to see some more comment and what you want to see, what type of content you want to see. Big into the troubleshooting thing, rig building. I know there's a bunch of other channels out there like that, but I have my own individual view. Might pick up something on my channel that you may not on somebody else's, or vice versa. So thanks again, everybody. I appreciate you joining, and I'll see you next time. Thanks again.